This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the LG Optimus T for T-Mobile. In fact, T stands for T-Mobile. There's an Optimus S for Sprint. This is one of the most affordable Android phones on the planet. In fact, it is the most affordable in the US. It sells for $29.99 with a 2-year contract on T-Mobile. And it's not a bad phone despite the cheap price. You have Android 2.2 Froyo here. That's the latest release available, and it's vanilla. It hasn't been customized in any way by T-Mobile or LG. You've got a soft touch finish. The phone's available in a manly titanium and a purple color you can see here. These are the volume control buttons. These are actually kind of hard to feel with your hand and actuate when you're on a phone call because they're so well integrated into the design and they really don't stick up very much at all. Up here you have your 3.5mm stereo jack. This is the power button. This is where you grab it to pull the back off. Nothing at all on this side. And just your micro USB port and the microphone down here. So if you pull the back off, you can see there's your micro SD card slot, and it comes with a 2 gig card pre-installed. And obviously here's your battery. It's 1500 milliamp, which is a pretty high capacity battery for a phone with a 600 megahertz processor and a not terribly large display at a budget price. And just for fun, we're going to compare it to the Sprint Optimus S. You can see they look quite a bit alike. The button design is slightly different. What's interesting about the Sprint version is you get these larger volume control buttons here, and you get keys for the camera and for voice command as well. And you have a micro SD card over here that's external, so it's quite a different design given that it's essentially supposed to be the same phone for 2 different carriers. Sprint version is $50, and it runs the new Sprint ID software, which unfortunately does slow down the phone. T-Mobile, again, is just vanilla Android. This is a 320 by 480 capacitive display. That's a pretty standard resolution for a mid-range to low-end Android phone. And as you can see, it's pretty sharp and clear, too, and colorful. It does not have an ambient light sensor, but it does have a proximity sensor for calls, and it has an accelerometer. And the speed is pretty good here, as you can see. We've got the separation here for anything that you install. It's put down here under the download section, separated from the bundled software. Bundled software includes, of course, all the Google good stuff: Google Search, Google Navigation, Google Places, Google Maps, Gmail, IM, and T-Mobile has decided to include Twitter, Facebook Client, Think Free Office, TeleNav GPS Navigator, and a couple of trial games, along with some T-Mobile services like their App Pack software. So it's a nice uncluttered phone. Again, this has a 600 megahertz CPU. It's reasonably powerful for what you would think of as a mid-range phone with that kind of CPU, and it keeps up. However, it doesn't support Flash in the browser. It really doesn't have the GPU or the horsepower to do that. And you can see with web browsing full HTML sites, it's not quite as smooth and fast. We'll take a look at that right now, in fact. Here we've loaded our site over T-Mobile's 3G network. This is 3G HSDPA. It is not HSDPA Plus. You don't get that for $30. And as we scroll the page around, it's just not as smooth as, say, a 1 gigahertz superphone, but you do get what you pay for. And that is certainly usable. It's got pinch and zoom. And obviously the accelerometer. So quite useful for light web surfing to moderate. We've got the YouTube client on here as well. And we'll check this out over T-Mobile's 3G network. Well, that's looking pretty good. I'll switch over to high quality mode. That looks really good.
I'm a little bit shocked, you know. I thought Brock was going to come out strong like he did.
These are mechanical buttons over here. These are the standard Android buttons. This is your menu button, home button, back button, and your search button. There are no dedicated call buttons. There aren't on most Android phones. The Optimus T feels really good in hand. I love the soft touch finish, and it's small, so if you're kind of turned off by those giant super phones, not just the price tag, but the size of the phone, this is a phone that has the power of Android and all the built-in applications you expect from a Google phone, but it's not absolutely huge. Contacts and calendar and all that stuff are standard Android, so we're not going to take a look at that right now. We're going to take a look at some other applications. You do have an FM radio here. You have to plug in a headset, a wired headset to use the FM radio, but you can see the interface here. You can assign channels. You can switch to the speakerphone, and you would have your numerical dial up here. And in our test, the FM radio worked just fine. That's becoming a rarity on phones, so it's nice to see. You've got the Car Home Google application. Makes it easier to use this in the car. T-Mobile's App Pack, if you choose to install, it's just some of the apps that they like the best. And again, we have TeleNav on here and Google Maps, both of which worked quite well in our tests. Call quality on the phone is quite good. The earpiece and the speaker are both very natural sounding, but the speaker itself is not very loud. If you're using this for in-car navigation, you have to crank it to max volume, and it's not really easy to hear if you have a loud car. But the quality is nice and clear, and there is no distortion. Reception is quite good. In fact, it's a little bit better than my Galaxy S phone, the Samsung Vibrant on T-Mobile, and as you can see here, we're getting full bars where I usually get 1 bar short of full. And likewise, the dB signal reflected the same thing. This guy's getting a pretty good signal. The phone has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, obviously it has the GPS. Again, it has a proximity sensor and an accelerometer, but it doesn't have an ambient light sensor. So all in all, a really solid phone for the price. I would say if you're looking to get into an Android smartphone, you just can't go wrong with this if you're on a budget and you don't want a large phone in your pocket. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website to read the full review.